remember that they will very likely qualify for Worlds. They were the best team in their region by far, and they locked in a GPL seed. So all the practice they can get, all the improvement that they can make, could pay dividends for Worlds.
And I even think, Azael, that stylistically, from what we've seen from G2 in the last two, the Gigabyte Marines line up really well because WE was able to change their style, take it to G2 early. G2, remember, took it very long 2 games ago, finally got over the line over Flash Falls, and then couldn't repeat that performance against WE with a pretty similar draft. And Gigabyte Marines only know to jam the accelerator, which, unless we see a return to G2 against SKT, where their early game was actually surprisingly proactive and smart, I feel like G2 could just get run over again.
I agree, and I think that so much of the story of this tournament has been about the junglers. And Levi is a guy who I think, could have an early edge against Trick, perhaps. Trick has not been, I think, looking as good this tournament as you would expect from a 2-time EU LCS MVP. He has been having some weak moments, and if Levi can step up big for their team and get an edge there, I think that can unlock the rest of the map.
Karma now being banned out on the side of Gigabyte Marines, a final ban for Phase 1.
Gragas will actually get taken away here, because this has been so big for Stark.
I mean, think about the bans towards Gigabyte Marines that were basically rubber stamped. Gragas, Kennen, Ziggs. So far, none of those champions are banned on red side, so G2 are giving Gigabyte Marines a chance to return to their earlier playstyle. Let's hope we can give them a benefit of the doubt and say, okay, maybe they actually reviewed the tape, know how to play against what Gigabyte showed before, because they have a lot more of their on-paper tools that we've seen them use in the play-ins available to them here.
Yeah, and I mean, Stark is someone who is known for that Kennen. So I am interested to see if they actually have the confidence to early pick it before we get to that second round, before it can get banned away. Gragas is off the table. He did not have as much success on some of the other picks, but Kennen is very strong right now.
And they have picked that Gragas first for him, too. It just goes to show what getting Stark on something means to them. It is going to be the Graves this time, as that Gragas was banned. And we'll see what side of G2 Esports has. Looks like a little bit of Protect, as Lulu is going to be available.
And the first part of the equation, the Lulu is fine from the side of G2. This doesn't necessarily cement them into any sort of Zven-focused comp. It is just the powerful laning support du jour. But what goes with it is the excitement.
What is the taster's choice?
I mean, a lot of the picks for Expect are kind of blocked by the Kennen as well. That's why you kind of want to see Expect actually mixing things up, because the Rumble, Kennen famously a good matchup there. Most tanks, Kennen again, very strong. So how the top lane shapes here, given that Stark, if anyone has been exploitable on the side of the Gigabyte Marines, on paper it's Stark. So that's the person you expect to be targeted largely, not in the bans apart from the Gragas. Trick, surprisingly, is returning straight back to the Nunu. So everything we said about shifting things, first impression, looks pretty damn similar.
Yeah, I mean, Nunu did not work out well at all for Trick last time. He got, obviously, it's a pretty tough matchup against Graves, but he's going up against Graves again here. He got outsmited at the red, then he had kind of a silly death in bot lane, and when you get put far that behind, it can be pretty tough.
It's one of those situations where sometimes you say, no, we just played it bad, but he says, maybe I mismechanically played that, so we'll do the Nunu again. We'll throw it in line. Levi, the Ziggs for Slay, as it has been banned throughout play-ins a little bit here, but he gets it.
Yeah, they use this to great success against TSM. They've succeeded in general when they have really strong pushing lanes, when you can shove up, when you can allow Levi the ability to move around and invade the jungles and get aggressive. And there it is. So these are big ticket picks for Gigabyte Marines. We have the Kennen for Stark. We have the Ziggs for Slay and Levi on the Graves.
But I really like this, Azael, because I look at this draft and I say, well, no surprise at all in there being Ziggs and Kennen drafted. No way G2 could say, well, I didn't see this coming. This makes me think that their analysts looked at what was actually played in play-ins and have devised a way to take it down. Because if they lose to legitimately the best possible strategy, Gigabyte Marines, just like TSM early in this tournament, there are no surprises.
And I mean, here is an answer. I think that Jayce has a big advantage against Kennen in the early levels, and I think that you certainly can win that lane. Expect Ken play the Jayce, so that may be the answer. Say, hey, great, you're comfortable in that, well, I'm comfortable in this, and I have the lane advantage.
This comp also continues to flex around for G2 Esports if they decide to. So we'll have to see what they really go with.
And I really like that you bring that up, because it's actually been PerkZ who's looked really good on Jayce. Again, now we're going a couple of weeks ago, but it was specifically his Jayce that what I first took note of when I was looking at European mid lane Jayces. Of course, the meta has shifted a little bit. We had a really big middle of the season peak of Jayce mid lanes, and then we started to see more top lane Jayce. So the flex pick, as you say, is already 2 ways on the side of G2 as I believe G2 missed their first ban.
Could be Twitch for the side of Gigabyte Marines, making sure that is not visual for us, and they have gone to the wayside with that first one.
Yeah, it does look like it's missing from the client as well, so I'm going to assume that's a missed ban.
Is it a thresh ban?
I find that so disappointing anytime someone misses a ban. There's never a reason to not ban something out, because there's always a pick that you 100% will not play,
For sure.
and that they may play.
That did actually go in as a thresh ban.
Okay.
So we do have one visually not showing up, but we will see for now. 9 seconds on the side of Gigabyte Marines. What is there? So Thresh, Zyra focused onto Archie on the side of G2 Esports, and the AD carries, obviously, for Gigabyte Marines towards Zven.
There's the champion pool for Archie. Looking a bit more narrow. Again, he's a double role swap player. It's certainly gone ring around the rosy when it comes to his position. Finally in support, largely there for shot calling is what we're told on the side of Gigabyte Marines. As again, it's eerie how much overlap we're seeing from G2, which is basically if they do lock in the Kog'Maw, saying that we messed up slightly with Trick in the early game, otherwise we had it, because a lot of the building blocks here for G2 are the same.
There's the Kog'Maw. Here we are.
And we do have to remember that this is a different team that they are playing up against, right?
Yep.
Sure, they got taken advantage of, but they were up against what should be a harder opponent than Gigabyte Marines, and I think that building a composition like this, it should be relatively strong, and if you can play a slow game, if you can slow things down against Gigabyte Marines like you want to do, you definitely have the faith in Zven to be able to carry in the late game.
Late game decision making for sure has been one of the strong tenets of G2, but they never got to late game in their last game. And you look at lanes like Ziggs versus Kog'Maw, and Kog'Maw just can't really match wave clear, especially very early in the game. So absolutely, if we see 35 minutes on the clock, big favorites will be G2 almost completely regardless of what's happened.
Wow. A lot of area to play with in their abilities. You have the Bard ultimate, the Taliyah wall, Kennen ultimate, Mega Inferno bomb, collateral damage. A lot to dodge here for the side of G2, but they do have a composition so far. They can stay at range before they need to get into the fight. What do they decide to end this up with?
And I mean, if he goes for Fizz here, the Fizz could actually be going mid as an AP Fizz into the Taliyah. Assassins generally match up quite well with Taliyah here. Obviously, there's possibility of this going top, but I would expect the Jayce into the Kennen and the Fizz into the Taliyah.
This is definitely one of those ones where you feel like you have to wait till 20 seconds to really have the confirmation. Fizz certainly has kill pressure on Taliyah, but I know I get worried every time I see an assassin with low wave clear against a Taliyah who, even a couple of nerfs later, has a lot of pushing power, and push, push, push is the game plan for Gigabyte Marines.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, especially when you have this bot lane that should be getting shoved in by the Ziggs. If Ziggs can take down that early turret bot lane, you go mid lane, well, PerkZ can't really help wave clear for you there either. So I think that the early game is going to be exceptionally important for G2. We need to see Trick tracking Levi, not allowing him to exploit these lanes, not allowing them to knock down that first turret bot lane, because that is going to crush the rest of the map.
Now, does tracking necessarily mean he's got to be in Levi's face, or they just have to know where he is?
I think you just have to know where he is. I mean, you grab that early tracker's knife on the Nunu, you can ward him out. You don't have to be trying to kill him or fight him. You just need to know where the guy is.
Obviously, still going to be a hard thing trying to just throw ice balls to snowballs at the Graves as he fires his shotgun at you. We'll see, though. Maybe they're throwing snowballs at each other. Aesthetically pleasing in the skins. We are going to be getting into game, though. Gigabyte Marines going up against G2 Esports as both teams come in looking for another win. 1 and 2, I believe, here in the group stages.
And G2, they feel like they have the tonic, but damn is it risky. The Fizz mid lane can work, but the pushing power, the pushing advantage in so many different ways from Gigabyte Marines is just so clear just from Champion Select.
All right, we are on to the Rift, and we will have to see who makes the first moves here. Obviously going to get a little bit of an invade to make sure we get that knowledge on both sides of it. But we have seen Gigabyte Marines able to throw teams so off their game that you have to play Gigabytes until you can find a way back to your strategy.
Level 1s, when Nunu's in the game, are even more important because, of course, he takes that first camp, the big camp, so quickly. Doesn't have the flexibility to start Raptors unless he's getting just the craziest of leashes. So usually we'll start a big buff. Defensive ward already placed around the first entrance here. Optimus has actually started with the sweeper, so the mind games have begun.
It does make you a little bit nervous. Anytime you see the ward getting swept out, you're like, oh god, what's coming? And it is the 4-man invade has been spotted out, but this does mean they're going to know where the Nunu is starting. Even if they don't get the ward on the camp where he does start, they're going to know that he's on the other side of the map.
So they've got so many members top. There's obviously no risk to their own blue buff. So they know that he's starting bot side of the map, and they have a ward on their red buff. So when it comes to big buff starts, which is, again, all that Trick can do, needs to start a big buff because he is the Nunu with the consume. They basically now have complete information over the starting from Trick. So
this actually may be a lane swap. I mean, the bot lane is still topside this late into the game, and it looking like it is going to be a delayed lane swap or some sort of level 1 cheese or something that Gigabyte is going for.
They did try to do it last time as well.
Out. Yeah, they're going to try to take away the Raptors and then go top.
They push in, they farm, they push up the turret as well. They get the teleport to the top side in the gank, and they'll have jungler cover bottom. If it happens the same way it did for Gigabyte Marines last time, then they get a 200 gold lead, and they go back to lane before their turret falls. Some kind of gold
Mithy's in trouble now. He went too far in. This is a level 2 red buff. Graves, I think Mithy's dead.
And the line just missing there. PerkZ is going to come in. He takes E first as well for the mid lane to close the distance. And now it's going to be Levi calling in 3. Optimus from the mid lane.
Good collapse from G2, protecting their support, because Mithy would have certainly got chased down in that 1v1. And
you have to start wondering, why is Kog'Maw being given a free lane when Ziggs can harass so strongly? Sure, level 1's not great for Ziggs, but once he gets all 3 abilities, he gets in a pretty dominant position. The reinforcements on the top turret do not run out till 5 minutes, so going for this lane swap that to some degree did make sense if you uncovered it through the course of the last game from the Gigabyte Marines. The big surprise here is maybe they're looking for a repeat turret dive. Looks like a pretty hard one to execute though for G2.
Yeah, Graves is here too, so now it's just about how fast can you actually push this turret and try to get that first turret blood.
I mean, 3 ranged auto attackers, you understand the theory, no reinforcements on the bot lane, so this is what the Flash Wolves didn't do that G2 can do, try to brute force down a turret.
And it looks like they are just going to move their bot lane top now. So they've got the Jayce to match up with this Kennen. Their Nunu was farming the jungle this whole time, whereas Graves kind of had to help hold. And they're going to try to get those standard lanes back, but Australian style.
That's something I know about. There are plenty of Australians here. It also makes the Nunu pathing more predictable, because lane swaps, of course, mean that you have to do what Trick is doing, where he's trying to hold a minion wave or pick up farm as is available to him.
He'll be able to head back to his jungle now, and a pretty nice wave to be soaked up by Zven as he had to go lane to lane. That should get him up to just about 20. See Levi backing in the bot side. He'll pick up some damage so he can get back to lanes, and as we expected in mid, PerkZ continues to be pushed in.
And shows up. Wasn't able to add any extra lifesteal, of course, because of the early roam. It's only the boots to try and sidestep the bombs. Bilgewater is when the lane gets a little bit more comfortable for Zven, but instant wave clear, just again, something that G2 does not have available.
Yeah, they definitely don't. And there certainly is pretty good gank assist from Ziggs too, which is something that I think is often overlooked by a lot of players, is that satchel can set up ganks very, very well. If you can satchel in the Kog'Maw into a bar stun, Graves comes in, there certainly is the kill potential there if they want to look for it.
Knockback is just not an ability available to many characters in the marksman or AD carry role. Bot lane Ziggs and Draven, I guess, the only 2 that have those sort of tools.
Here they go.
Creative plays begin.
Journey, Archie and Levi just on the back
now.
side. Oh, they're going to get a double bind here if they walk. He flashes to dodge the binding. Zven now going away from the turret as well to continue the dodges. Another flash forward. And Gigabyte Marines may have gone a little too hard.
Levi flashed forward for the auto, but the minions were in the way. Graves cannot shoot over those minions, but Trick is moving very quickly up here. Zven has no summoners. He has to be careful under this turret.
2 flashes and an ignite used.
Taliyah coming too.
Yep, as you say, Taliyah coming in as well. 5 minutes, so the reinforcements on this top turret are down, but the pathing from G2 defensively is very smart. No ability to take down the first break.
They see Optimus. This is going to give PerkZ great time to farm in mid. Can they drop tricks here, though, to make use of the roam? Looks like he will go down, but it might just be bards. No, Optimus flashes forward to get the kill, and that's first blood.
This is something that Gigabyte Marines can do with that wave pushing in mid. We outlined in Champion Select. They have a lot more fail-safes. Sure, they invested a lot in making this play happen, although
PerkZ is actually TPing in here. They're going to look for a fight.
PerkZ goes hard. Optimus takes the journey. Can anybody follow through this one? Chum the Water's not there as both mid laners are level 5. and it's just going to be a walk out for the Gigabyte Marines.
I think that was an intelligent TP from PerkZ. They know that Gigabyte Marines is trying so desperately to get this first turret down. As soon as the first turret falls, expect them to start falling across the map with this Ziggs siege pressure. So G2 really needs to fight tooth and nail for every turret, and I think both teams are fighting so heavily for that because of this.
And Trick's lack of respect for Brush and in general play on the Nunu, almost overestimate his tankiness, both in the first game we saw today and in this one, is made to pay as bot lane. Stark's 1v2.
Whoa.
Does have ulti, remember, he's
Expect misses quite a damage flash forward from Stark because he feels like he can get the kill. But they did trade flashes to the skies in, and a quick E to the face should be the kill here for Expect. Gets the auto in, and the minions have de-aggroed.
Oh, that was pretty close there for Expect. Maybe could have waited for Nunu to slap him a couple more times, but does work out for them in the end.
There's definitely holes in the game plans for Gigabyte Marines. That part has been clear ever since they took the Rift earlier in the play-ins, but you understand that basically you actually identified Azael very clearly during the champion set. You talked about, hey, they want to take down the first turret because from there, you just rotate around PerkZ. Doesn't matter what lane he's in. He doesn't really offer anything when it comes to clearing it. So we're going to finally see a replay. No defensive vision down, creative path from Trick. But at this point, it looks like it'll be academic, but it actually falls basically one auto attack short of it being a 1-for-1.
Yeah, I mean, that missed shock blast from Expect makes this ridiculously close as, yeah, that last auto would have done it.
During all this, there was the solo of Trick onto the Ocean Drake. Nunu's actually one of the few champions that can do that because, of course, no reduction in the true damage from the Consume You Max first means that the damage reduction there is not as big a factor. The extra healing he gets through from the Consume makes it possible. Well, the Ocean Drake will be happy days for the members of G2.
And it can be pretty interesting to actually track the skill order of the Nunu, and he is going for 3 points consumed now. I'll be interested to see if he decides to go towards Snowball. Sometimes players do want to duel up, harass the other jungler a bit more, are going to go more there after the 3 points in Q. And if you want to just do more objective control and farming, you're going to continue and full max that Q. So sometimes it can give you an idea of the game plan. Plus Kog'Maw, if you're going to play around him, maybe you start putting points in W.
Blood Boil Max, even from the jungle, was something we started to see the last time Nunu was in meta. Like the Snowball was the oldest of the most recent maxes. Feels like even though that was the trademark, it's largely been moved away from. I think we saw 5 points in Q the last time from Trick, but the moment that you see your Kog'Maw hitting item spikes, that's when you just jam all the points in W.
Make sure he is protected. They still have the Lulu if they want to go that way. Expect with a kill for his name. And now they're going to transfer over the blue to PerkZ here. Levi at the bot side, but he's going to be warded out. So G2 may just kind of toy with him here and waste his time. Oh, he's getting a lot of love. Weaver's Wall should cut him off. No, it ends too early. Optimus hops off as well.
Just that rank 1, so not going to be able to get all the way there, but you know, things looking pretty good for G2, I would say. You know, they're able to scale up. They've been able to keep their turret line, but now Zven.
A lot of damage. No more meeps for Archie, so he can't really follow up with too much, but the Mega Inferno Bomb is down, and they have lane control. Bot lane's going to see PerkZ in just a few seconds if he continues his roam.
Bard also just hit 6, so they could look for a dive here. You can ult the turret and go for the Kog'Maw if you want to try to set that up. We'll see if they're going to try to make a play.
PerkZ continues to pressure mid. Once they see that, they may try to, but the minion wave has pushed off just a bit too far, giving G2 good breathing room. This next wave could be the one, as PerkZ now choosing to go topside. Cosmic Binding could double up easily here, but Zven misses out.
Flashes out of it, so Stark's flash, so Stark's teleport is wasted.
Got it.
PerkZ will walk up as well. Every minute that piles on is bad for the Marines as well. He's just instantly dead.
He is eaten up by Chum the Waters. 22 seconds on that. You can see how early we are in the game for these deaths to be going down, but PerkZ made the right choice, was going to go bot, decided top, and comes up with a kill.
Yeah, he goes straight up to top, knowing once again they have to fight for the turrets, and now Trick is behind Slay here. He'll be okay, though. Just backs right out. Both teams are playing so heavily around this, and this is, you know, to your point, kind of one of the holes in the Gigabyte Marines game plan is, if it's obvious to us, it's obvious to G2, and then you can be in position, you can get there for the counter ganks, for the turret holds, and for these return kills.
Again, first impression, really impressed to see G2 stick to their guns and give so much over to the Marines, but this is such a race against time. We know how oppressive G2's comp can be in the late game, and we know that hitting timings as a Ziggs comp is basically 9 times out of 10, the difference between victory and failure. So far, it feels like the Gigabyte Marines have been even more transparent than they have in previous games, and credit to G2. They've seen through a lot of those sort of engages, and that first turret, and thus the turret snowball, has never happened.
I mean, I like the idea from Gigabyte Marines. You put a little bit more damage now. They already did the lane swap last time, but now Ziggs with that armored turret, maybe take it down a little faster, but they got even less this time, so it fizzles out even faster.
And I think it's one of those things sometimes where you're trying to put your opponents in an uncomfortable position.
For sure.
Not a lot of people are playing lane swaps. Not a lot of people are playing bot lane Ziggs. Put G2 in a position where you think they may make a mistake, and you know, this time G2 responded appropriately, but many teams may not have.
Archie pathing over will be found clearing, and now when you're rotating multiple members around Jayce, that's where again things kind of fall away from the Gigabyte Marines. Mid lane.
On the waters onto Optimus. Oh, the double tap after he hits the ground. PerkZ feels like he knows the capabilities and is using them to the max of his Fizz.
This is not top lane Fizz. This is an AP Fizz. You do so much damage. As soon as you hit that ultimate, it's almost a guaranteed kill unless there's peel available or you're someone very tanky.
Adjusting your expectations is so hard when you cast top lane Fizz into this mid lane Fizz. The ult is used to wave clear, but remember, that's a lot of damage on mid lane turret and also the bot lane turret traded for the first blood turret, and first blood turret was nerfed in recent patches, so already it feels like the Gigabyte Marines are trading down, and you can never do that with bot lane Ziggs.
Yeah, you definitely can't, but the next few minutes here I think are going to be pretty critical because the Gigabyte Marines are looking for a kill on PerkZ, and they're looking for this mid lane turret.
2 seconds.
Get the Q. If he walks in between the turret, it's going to be the easier one to throw. Dodges out to the left. Nicely played to draw in that ability from Slay.
Yeah, PerkZ was trying to very aggressively wave clear there, spend his life to buy the time for Zven to get to that mid lane so that they don't just lose this turret right away to the Ziggs. And one of the things that is also very nice about G2's comp is it's not all eggs in the Zven basket. Although Kog'Maw is going to be a massive threat and has the Nunu and the Lulu, you still have huge split push pressure coming out of someone like the Fizz who can perform assassinations like this.
Instantly popped. Again, adjust your expectations, not your television screens, or computer screens, I guess, as more common.
And we saw the bit of protection props there to Mithy in the last play for saving PerkZ as he did get into trouble, so they realize what kind of power they need to help out here in the mid lane as he is getting himself going nicely.
A lot of good coverage around the bot lane as well to make things predictable. G2 just returning to the mid lane that, remember, was prepped earlier.
Optimus trying to work off the ball. Top side of the map is being pushed in. Paying respects to that as he goes to clear it. But we'll see. Now that this map starts to get between the turrets, there could be the picks that Gigabyte Marines is looking for to get. But right now, G2 is the one that's getting all the picks they want.
And PerkZ is hunting on the bot side here. I'm not sure if he was actually spotted out on the way down, but he's going to look for a fish.
Just on the side, if you go around it, he's going to be good. Well played by Stark. But PerkZ is hitting that ult on cooldown. Mithy's in, can't get anywhere towards the turret. He's going to get bounced back as well. Seismic shove, and the rest of the damage to take down Mithy. Absolute Zero's already going to do full damage after a few, but Trick keeps it to keep them in line. And he almost goes down for it. Yeah, it's going to be Archie picking up the kill. And Expect now coming in slow. Will he go through the sky? He's still in the range mode. Didn't go to hammer. Gets himself taken down in a bit of a misplay from G2 as they feel like they had the follow-up.
And it really felt like the initial damage from the Absolute Zero couldn't even track if that was actually the rank 2, because of course if you have the passive up, you get the extra damage. It felt like a lot of damage, but every time Nunu gets a full channel it is, so we'll track that on the replay. But from there, Expect really did misjudge the situation, flashing in aggressively as a Jayce, not getting a single kill. As the Weaver's Wall was really nice to open this up, and the rest of it is all about the Nunu.
Yeah, this was very well played, I think, by the Gigabyte Marines, bringing the Taliyah down as the Bard ulti lands. They have very nice combo to initiate this, and they're able to pick up a couple kills here. And this is the overextension here from Expect, thinking he could finish them off. There's 4 members here, doesn't even get the 1 kill, and gives over a free.
And when you have a defensive-minded comp that really would rather the game be extended, why are you trading for at best 1-for-1? You know the rest of the team of Gigabyte Marines is there, so the best case scenario is kind of a loss for G2, so really don't understand it.
An item being finished there could have definitely gotten ahead of Expect. Throwing down that Youmuu's to the skies can clear a fight, but this is the damage he was hoping to have. PerkZ stopped under the turret. He's going to be taken down by Stark. Outplayed.
I don't know about that one from PerkZ. I mean, yeah, you can almost 100-0, but you got stunned up on the turret. Playful Trickster, not up in time, and that's an overreach.
That's a don't let the confidence hit you on the way out.
I mean, that's like just taking your whole health bar by a turret, because it wasn't like he was making fancy footwork. He stood to attention, auto-attacked with just a couple of Dorans and a longsword. PerkZ hits the full damage rotation, may have misjudged the damage, but takes the stun, and the auto-attacks do the rest.
And I mean, a dive like this is okay if you can actually queue in to start it, because then you can use the Playful Trickster to get out. But because he used his strike to jive in, he has no way out with the Playful Trickster.
PerkZ is the only one who can really warp this game, because him getting solo kills on Kennen, suddenly the plan of just sticking everyone in the lane and taking turrets with not much wave clear doesn't matter. Fizz doesn't want to be standing in front of this onslaught of wave clear. He wants to be making plays around the map. So losing as much as they did there means the pressure's relieved by turret.
Already him off the map means more mid pressure. He's going to have to give respect to the top side and do some pruning on that wave, but Gigabyte Marines, again, have a window. And to Papasmithy's point earlier, you know, even if you trade that kill, it's not really worth it. You're the comp that wants time, that wants to scale up, that wants to delay the Ziggs from sieging down your turrets. So that's not something that PerkZ maybe should have even gone for in the first place.
And that's why, I'll hold the point though.
They are just so aggressive.
On the turret to the skies immediately. Seismic shoved back. Optimus wants a little bit of breathing room for himself.
That Bardal was so good to set it up from Archie, who has been everywhere this game, involved in all but one kill. You hit that Bardal just on the turret, not on the Jayce, and it's going to go down so quickly.
And that's why I'm surprised that G2 returned to a comp where they clearly didn't get enough done in the early game, got run over, and they're like, okay, this time PerkZ will be an assassin, he'll warp the game. You can see that PerkZ feels the pressure. He's trying to make the plays happen, but now you fall into that extra hole. Speaking of holes, they're just going for the front door approach of looking for bonus turrets, and the moment that PerkZ doesn't get it done, everything is falling around him.
Yeah, I mean, he could have gone for something with a lot more wave clear, a safer, more conservative pick with his composition, but when you go for assassins, you go for broken. Is Gigabyte staying here? Doesn't look like it.
It could be. Expect onto Stark here. Stark throws down the ultimate. He's going to get some good stuns on Mega Inferno Bomb back. I feel like GAM's going to lose at least one here, but how much did they trade back? Slay is low. And with seeing Archie over the wall, they're going to decide to get out of this one.
And just the one for the turret is very nice for the Gigabyte Marines. They are the ones who want to knock these turrets down, pick up the gold, and start sieging as quickly as possible. They need to push the pace of the game. So I think that an aggressive move like that is well worth it.
You just feel like you come back to expect flashing into a fight. What looks like 4 minutes ago, given its flash, is still not back up. And you remember that that was already kind of misunderstanding where they were at in the game, what their win conditions were. And from there, finally, Gigabyte Marines, who were thwarted for the first 15 minutes, have found the pace of the game they're looking for. So it feels like if you just completely rewrite the last 4 minutes, everyone's just farming happily. You're like, okay, G2's got this, scaling's looking great, wonderful stuff. But now suddenly, that creeping doubt is there for G2 fans because Gigabyte Marines have actually accelerated the pace of the game.
It definitely is. With that said, G2 keeping it relatively close here. It's not a big gold lead for the Gigabyte Marines just yet. And if PerkZ can play these side lanes well, can slow things down, draw pressure to himself, it'll give Zven the time to really turn online.
PerkZ with the heavy lifting to set the pace of this game. Stark's still short of any sort of magic resist, just to blade the Ruin King, so he definitely needs a lot of turret shots to aid in any hopes of beating the Fizz. Happened before, so I have to talk about it. Don't want to talk about it, but shame on PerkZ that time. So looking for G2, they are being a bit more defensive here. They've got some coverage around the river, so they don't at least need to give up a free Infernal just yet.
Oh, they're looking to collapse on PerkZ here. The Infernal spawning means if he goes down, it could be trouble. Oh, what an ult, immuning that fish.
He's going to get blocked in by the wall as well if he can't knee over it. Optimus takes the right side. PerkZ is basically waiting on cooldowns right now. If the team can make it, this will be great. They're also going for Infernal. Trick's going to have it. Mithy can get his escape here. And they're all working on different things as PerkZ is able to get himself out alive. However, GAM over the wall like a freight train. And they're able to take down Dragon. Infernal goes to them. Trick just trying to use Absolute Zero to slow the team down, but really he puts himself down. 7-4. Gigabyte Marines take more control. TP top lane to stop the turret.
They are everywhere. The nice play play, catching PerkZ out. Then they rotate around with the Bard, get the Infernal Dragon. And Archie has just been a monster this game, enabling them so well.
And the thing I can really appreciate about Gigabyte Marines is they're doing one thing at a time. Let's kill the Fizz, then we can get the Drake. Then they realize that Fizz gets away, they can just portal over the wall, work on the Dragon, whereas at the same time, Jayce at the start of this clip is top lane, never leaves the top lane. Teleport Jayce, not a big threat. As you say, gotta really compliment the fact that he got a free Zhonya's on the damage from the Fizz ultimate. But again, the real thing for Gigabyte Marines is, all right, we're not gonna kill Fizz, let's go overtake the Dragon that we can very much expect has been started, whereas G2 are trying to make the sideway push work, and the rest of this is so muddy from G2 as they don't really ever fully commit to anything.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that Gigabyte Marines are making so many intelligent choices that are very difficult in a row. You know, they're not over chasing PerkZ. They're immediately churning to the Dragon. They're killing off Trick. They're taking down that. They make so many good choices and so quickly, which is normally one of the big things that the emerging regions get criticized for.
And you don't need to listen in to understand that Gigabyte Marines basically call something and everyone is doing it. They're always fully committing whenever we remember Kha'Zix diving in like Levi has done so many times. And again, they go for a clear objective. Everyone's on the same page. And it feels like from G2, they're still muddy. They still have the confidence in the late game. The game hasn't been blown apart by any means. Every time Zven gets an extra minion wave, the hope rises for G2. But you can't help but smile at a team that very much knows what they need to be doing. And that, for me, is the Gigabyte Marines.
And I mean, it's so interesting to me, you know, coming into this tournament, I know I thought Supermassive would have been the team to qualify, not the Gigabyte Marines. Then against TSM, you know, most people are thinking they're going to get smashed. Now they're here, they're picking up wins, they're pushing these teams to the limit. At what point are they no longer the underdog and just a really good team?
Still a question. Those inhibitors, once again, once they get there, things seem to stall out. We have a lot of time before that happens, and they have a lot of fights that could make this game just crush through those inhibitors at this point. Everything's going right for Gigabyte Marines right now as they are 2,000 gold in the lead. Doesn't look like much, but it's a lot of map pressure for them.
Feels like 2012 to 2014 narratives of ignore the GPL teams at your peril. Of course, very relevant when Taipei Assassins and all the other teams were there are coming back and raising their head because we don't know much about this team, barring what we've seen since play-ins, but it's been damn impressive.
And that's what you use to your advantage, but an AD carry can always get caught out. And he does.
And now G2 have a single goal in mind. It is going to be the Baron. They're going to turn straight onto it. Levi is alive. There's been heroics, but Optimus, he reads this situation. He's going to start roaming up. They do not want to allow any free time with the Baron when Nunu, Jayce, and Kog'Maw are on the menu.
Oh, and if G2 can kill off Levi, that would guarantee it. But it looks like G2 didn't have the confidence to go for that with the Kennen ultimate, with Taliyah, and these ways to kind of get in there and perhaps slow him down.
They have completely invaded the side of G2's jungle now, trying to get some wards in.
No shade to G2 on pulling away from that. It certainly would have been super, super risky. A Locket wasn't going to be enough tankiness for the team, and even Trick is the only frontliner to be able to tank it down.
Yeah, they really were hoping that Levi was going to try to face check that, and if they had gotten that one additional pick, it would secure the Baron.
Levi's Wall's versatility been on full display today. Definitely in the LCK, it felt like no one was actually using it for gap close, just using it for the permanent terrain, because no one wants to flash over a wall offensively. You know, sure, if you're going to die, you flash away to not die, but when it's like, wait, do I flash over to get near a Baron to steal it? That's where people always second-guess themselves. We've moved to be more and more judicious with things like flashes as, well, this isn't judicious, they're just going straight for a Baron.
Oh, they didn't actually know about this. G2 saw them walk over that ward. Here they are. Remember, this is Nunu with the Smite Consume combo, so Gigabyte has to back up.
They try to get the fast play onto G2, but G2 might have the fast track down mid lane now. The lane already pushed by Zven. Gigabyte Marines needs to reroute themselves to stop this tier 2.
And Nunu's zone control with his ultimate has been disrespected a couple of times already, but this time won't matter. However, another nice thing about the Ziggs, you can try and force there from being too much objective trade, and they still brute force down the turret. They are allowed to back away. PerkZ is also on the solo mission up top. So good passage of play from G2 the last few minutes. They've been actually finally forcing Gigabyte Marines and no longer playing to the tempo of the Ziggs comp.
And one thing that G2 has also kind of forced out is you look at the Wit's End on Stark, which is going to be very nice if he's laning up against PerkZ, but they can assign Expect to match up against him, and that itemization will not help against Expect whatsoever.
Well, that Frozen Mallet was the only item that kind of straddled the line between the two, but
it's a tough choice because it's so hard to survive against that Fizz without any MR.
You're real afraid of PerkZ at this point.
He's also not monstrously ahead. He's 1-3 and 2, so even from the kills you can tell that, but behind in CS as well, so he didn't really have the latitude. He had a No Magic Mantle, actually one auto attack from down. He had a No Magic Mantle and just basically turned it into a Wit's End to get the most bang for his buck out of his gold, but when it comes to actually matching the team, Paul Azael is right now kind of stuck between identities.
It's going to be very hard to start approaching G2 now that they have map control. They control the fog of war with these shock blasts, the chum the waters, the living artilleries. And Gigabyte Marines loses a lot of ground here as right after the Dragon they took a breather, G2 found their way back in.
This is a second Infernal here, so
yep.
G2 really don't want to give that over to Gigabyte. They're already in position, they're rushing it down, and it should be theirs to even things up.
Yeah, I mean, Stark was actually just teleporting out. There was no way that he was going to make anything happen, but he used that word control a couple of times in reference to G2 in one single passage at 25 minutes, and we talked about 35 kind of being where G2's comp should really come pretty significantly ahead. Again, that's mostly on paper. Certainly there can be outplays, and we've already seen some mistakes macro-wise from G2, but we're getting closer and closer to that time, and the Infernal Drake helps as well.
It's also interesting to see Zven here is actually looking like he's going for a Triforce on the Kog'Maw with that third item. Not electing to go for something a little bit more defensive. He is going pretty aggressive here. It can work very well as you are mixing those Qs and the E's in, proccing the Sheen procs non-stop, but I wouldn't have been surprised to see him pick up some MR with something like a Mercurial, against the Ziggs, the Taliyah, and the top lane Kennen, who's, although it is AD, is still going to put out some magic damage in a fight.
Lock it. He's got some movement speed from his Nunu, but it's certainly not the Iron Shield comp that we were seeing.
Yeah, this isn't like full on, multiple shields with a Karma mid or anything like that. So you do have to worry about protecting yourself a little bit more.
I guess one thing you could say on the side of Gigabyte Marines is getting to the Kog'Maw is actually a bit of a frustration here.
Totally. For sure.
Kennen going for the ult flank, gone are the days of Smeb getting triple kills. It's an AD Kennen, it's a very different thing. They're much more front to back. They're much more about clearing the front target. And sure, Ziggs can launch some damage into the backline, but enough to kill them through Lulu? Almost certainly not. So he's just trusting on the safety of the comp, trusting on the ward line and his own positioning, which certainly PerkZ and specifically Zven can be someone who can feel good about positioning so far in this tournament.
I definitely agree, and I think if it is going to be a straight front-to-back fight, G2 should be able to win. It's so hard to actually fight through that Nunu with a blood-boiled Kog'Maw on you, but they're looking for a catch.
Hit right out of the journey. He should be fine, though. Archie's there with Levi. A nice wall here is going to cut off most of the team. Optimus has to make himself very scarce from this situation. He's going to be going down to a Cathian surprise. I don't think the... No, it did not. The Shrine did not help him get speed as we watch the fight on the top side. PerkZ is going to have to be out of this one. Redemption coming down on him, so he'll be able to enter back into the fight from Mithy. Exhaust is still down if they try to get into the fight. Mithy will come out using that, but they are just getting melted as it begins. There's the journey through the wall. They can finish with the long range. Slay's going to put out the satchel. They're going to pop him back, but it's not even going to be needed. The double kill for Slay as PerkZ walks his way home.
The Bartle from Archie setting up 2 more kills. They chased out Trick, and this should be a Gigabyte Baron, which is just what they needed.
Archie's ultimates here are incredible. Somewhere on the analyst desk, Crepo is losing his mind because this
guy's playing insane.
That he has used the Bard, very much an edge meta pick, even with the extra buffs recently. There's no one here to contest. PerkZ can try something.
Has his ulti.
Chum the Waters is in, it's on to Slay. Should be able to bounce back around. He's gonna take one, but that's a 1-4-1. Here come the meat damage, boys.
Oh.
No, the double kill onto the Bard, and PerkZ gets out alive.
Are you kidding me?
Bro.
He gets out and clears 2 Baron buffs casually. The Graves ultimate misses as well. The great escape and negating Baron buffs is really big for G2.
That was insane from PerkZ. Not even the hesitation getting out of there, but here is the initial play.
Yeah, we start the replay and PerkZ just starts doing damage, but he has to use Zhonya's very early, and Optimus looks like he's just been on a suicide mission in the backline. Flashes out, eventually you think he's going to go down, but it's not. It's just a clean 1-for-1 with the passive, and then you focus on the fight, and G2 now have overextended. The only way to punish it is that ultimate from Archie. They're actually looking to turn here after getting their redemption, but getting both the Lulu and the Jayce means that suddenly everyone else is overextended. The Satchel is back up off cooldown. They will eventually chase in. We know they pick up the Baron. It is still advantage Gigabyte Marines. You're hyped to see such a great escape from PerkZ, but the Baron is still there, and all PerkZ could do is decrease the efficiency of the Baron pickup just a little bit.
Yeah, but getting those 2 kills as well onto a snowbally champion like the Fizz, escalating him towards the late game is also very helpful. And
See his play
once more. I mean, and Slay, even with the flash, gets executed. The AP Fizz is so strong, and the fact that he's able to get out, pick up a second kill, and avoid the Grave Salt is nuts.
And maybe Archie doesn't have that clip on his broad highlight reel. It's front lane.
Optimus, Zanya's, PerkZ back right to the fight. He's going to delete Optimus. It's PerkZ onto Archie now with the rest of the team as Expect flies over the wall. That's a double kill. Trick's going to be able to hold down Levi, and Slay looking to get the Satchel in to help his teammate out, but Trick throwing down the absolute zero. It's going to be the absolute fight win here for G2. They back off a bit to clean up some waves, but they continue to grab kills without losing nearly anything.
I mean, PerkZ grabbing even more kills
Levi
is going to be so strong, and Levi coming in, he's going to look for more. Expect is hanging around.
I didn't say nearly anything as they go for Expect now. Levi starts to move in. Can he get the red buff proc? He does, but Zven has different things to say about the situation. Top lane being pushed by Stark if they can hold off the team, but Gigabyte Marines decides to back away.
The first 2 kills, certainly Gigabyte Marines pushing too far forward, but when Ziggs threw down some zoning damage, and you remember, they didn't go for the magic, it was just specifically on the Kog'Maw. The respect has to come through. So again, sloppy play from Gigabyte Marines. Closing out games certainly hasn't been their strongest point, as Nunu's going to start snowballing,
He is a fast Expect coming in on the home guard. Stark has that ultimate down. He's looking for a position where he can actually get around the minions. No, he just goes for the fight. He's trying to lifesteal, knows he's going down.
Getting a bit sloppy from Gigabyte Marines. Now the Baron buff is basically now completely negated. First after the heroics from PerkZ and from some overextension on the map. Levi may be the only one wearing it. Not 100% clear on that.
Bit of a security system of wards here.
PerkZ does have his ultimate. This is a ridiculously fed Fizz now. If he can catch that fish on either of these guys down here, he can look for a kill. G2 want to posture around this dragon. Their 5v5 straight up is very, very strong, and they would love to grab that 4th dragon before the Elder spawns.
First snowball is now actually something you have to respect. Usually it's a bit comical, doesn't do a lot of damage, isn't maxed first. But when the outer turrets start to go down, and we've seen so many extended chases, the acquisition of targets by Trick starts to become relevant.
There's a hit. Slay does get over the wall. I don't know if they can save him, though. One last attack, and PerkZ, that'll be 2 times that he's gone a little too hard in the fight. Optimus now in there with the Weaver's wall. Trick throws down the ultimate just to get the slow in, and it looks like he will be able to get out, but that was also wild growth. Stark is having a bit of fun in the mid lane
all alone
as well, and they're going down for a possible fight here. Stark, can he get there in time? It doesn't look like a full engage.
They're trying to chase down Trick. They want to kill him off or push him out so they can get the free dragon, and they're going to go right back for it now. We'll see if G2 has the confidence to move up and try to contest this 4v5, but I don't think they will.
It's only a Mountain Drake, though. It's certainly not a Baron tank. They're not going to be breaking the base. Neither of those things happened. Finally, the clock reads that fateful number, very close to 35 minutes. So it feels like team fight-wise, it isn't, again, pure protect the Kog'Maw. It's not what we saw last game. It's not what we saw yesterday. There's still a Jayce, for example, that doesn't necessarily fit as easily there. But Zven is 3 items, and you feel like some magic resist is slapped on, and maybe suddenly this G2 comp can go front to back themselves and take the team fight wins.
I would really like to see Zven go for just a maw, honestly. I think straight up, if he gets burst down, that's the only way they're really going to die. And if we see a flank from Stark, stunning him up, and then that free Zig ultimate lands, that can 100-0 you, and he's going to go for it.
Certainly heard it. Even some backup null magic mantles from Mithy. Everyone's getting the picture. They understand what they need to be doing. So the next team fight, the Burst, which of course is the name of the game for the Gigabyte Marines. The only consistent damage is really Stark, mostly. Even Graves is largely burst-based on his AD. We'll mean that it's going to be kind of rely on Gigabyte Marines to play the side lanes. And the one thing you can say so far from the Gigabyte Marines is that is certainly not their comfort zone. We've seen so many replays where they're diving turrets, diving the Nexus turrets, diving in mid lane, while the minion waves are basically
prerequisite.
Exactly.
There has to be a 1-for-1 before you can take the turret.
But the minion waves are always equal, Rift. They're always far out from the base. It's never the sixth man. As a hunting mission is happening, but you're never really sure who's being hunted.
Oh, it's going to be Slay almost each time. PerkZ has his number. Does he enter into the base? He says inhibitor turret. What inhibitor turret? That's the Bard ultimate onto Archie. It doesn't even save him as PerkZ comes up with another one. Diaz throws on the Zanyas. Zven maybe go down as he flashes over the wall nicely. Now Optimus is in hot water, and it's going to be Stark trying to come in and help. Here's Levi with the damage. Tricks in the base, and he can't find his way out, so it is going to be the cleanup. But it's going to be a 2 for 3.
Did Mithy stay around too long? If he gets tagged, he might get chased down here too. PerkZ over the wall, looking to turn this around though.
A fast start kid, expect coming in. He can pop over the wall and slow him down with the playful trickster, but he decides not to. They look for the full play where they might be able to push a wave in here and work more on the inhibitor.
The Fizz Shark is almost back up. The cooldown is so ridiculously low. If they approach here, PerkZ may be able to catch someone off guard.
No one is tanky enough to be catching that Fizz ult. Look at the mobile mode, it's still not enough. The Wit's End, unless you're auto-attacking, doesn't have a lot of magic resist either. Just insanity. As we were watching the jungler shadow PerkZ, but PerkZ goes instant kills the Ziggs and also gets in on Archie.
Now trap Optimus with this seismic shove. They get the Bard stun into the two-man shove over the wall. Archie setting them up again. This guy has been on fire all day.
Optimus also has been hitting the seismic shoves, like you say, but it was all after the fact. They're still trading down in that scenario. Feels like we're still pretty far away from knowing which way this game will be going, even if the timer reads that as, that's definitely no damage at all from the Ziggs, because he finally got assassinated, which is exactly what you pick AP Fizz for.
I mean, the crazy part is he didn't even need the fish to one-round him. And,
right.
You know, if Slay is that vulnerable, while Archie has been incredible, Bard, it's very skill shot reliant to actually protect your AD carry. You need to like hit him with the Bard ulti very perfectly, or somehow have something to set up the stun on Fizz with. This is not like a Janna or Kog'Maw who can easily protect you.
And that's why the Fizz and the Lulu speed are things that work so well against the artist. There's the fish.
And it's going to keep happening.
The damage is to 80% of his health just from the fish.
And it's got, as I said, it's going to keep happening. This is an ignite on Archie as well. PerkZ knows there's no exhaust for him to get hit by.
And more importantly, G2 know that Slay is recoiling, so they start the Baron.
Going to be Baron here for G2. They have weathered the storm themselves, but put up one hell of a fight here to put Gigabyte Marines in a bad spot. Baron for G2 as they can now work the lanes.
A really good clear call. They saw the chunk. The ultimate was down also from the Bard to even try to reset the health bar of the Baron. They make the decisive call to G2. The timer reads, the items are there. Maybe the pendulum has finally swung to G2, but it was another game for Gigabyte Marines where, damn, they were in position to take the win.
Yeah, I mean, they really are so close in a lot of these games to finishing it off, and it does feel like G2 certainly has a stranglehold on the game now with all the survivability being picked up on Zven. Grabs the Giant's Belt to work towards that frozen mallet and make sure he doesn't get taken down. There still are opportunities for them to come back, but it's pretty frightening when PerkZ' ultimate is this short of a cooldown. If he catches on almost anyone, they're out of the fight.
I mean, previously we were thinking of fights and you're like, okay, get that big seismic shove, take down a couple, get a big Bard ultimate, turn around. When you see things like the frozen mallet now completed and the Hex Drinker, a lot of those edge cases are gone. I always think, okay, what does a team fight win look like for a team? Suddenly, on the Gigabyte Marine stuff, it's looking like the stuff of dreams, looking really unrealistic, barring someone just being caught completely out of position from G2.
Yeah, I mean, Triforce gives you some HP. With the additional HP from that frozen mallet, Kog'Maw is sitting up near 3,000 health, plus the shields, plus the Hex Drinker shield, and the lifesteal. It becomes comically hard to kill him.
And even Wild Growth is not even being mentioned in that list, so they don't quite have the triple supports and all the banners of command, but they do have a lot of the tools needed. They want to finally break the base, something that Gigabyte Marines, who were comped around doing that, have not been able to do.
Quite a bit of damage. Zanya's, no follow-up from PerkZ is not there. We'll see the same thing now from Slay. He has finally finished his Zanya's on his last back.
TP coming in, they're going to look for the flank as Fizz has been chunked out.
Bard ultimate just missing. Oh, he's coming in so slow as he goes over the Voidooz, and they're gonna get one kill over on the Mithy. Wild Growth already went out, so he'll be safe on that as the team can use the defense. But there is PerkZ. Can they turn it around? Levi trying to get to the front of the line, but they don't really have any speed steroids to catch up. And Trick and the rest of the team make it out safe, but what can the Marines get?
That Weaver's Wall from Optimus completely locked Zven out of the fight. He wasn't able to auto-attack at all, and these Gigabyte Marines just keep finding plays.
Optimus gets himself in, expect flashes out after to the skies. Trick here wants to slow the team once again, living artillery onto Slay. One more shot, he would have been down. And they got to be careful, the flashes are on the air for Archie. They're going to get out safely.
Finally get to back away. Gigabyte Marines thought when they traded 2 for 1 they could finally break the base, but actually looking for that has been their own penalty. Expect it's going to teleport in as well. And that's finally a base broken, but it's for G2.
And having this Triforce on Zven, he can just eat through turrets with his procs. They're going to be messing around. Trick just trying to absorb a bit of damage, forces his flash, not huge for the Nunu, and looks like they will be able to finish off the turret. Expect not in long range form, hammer form, walk up to the inhib, and he gets himself killed.
I mean, I'm right there with you, Azael. We've both got our hands up because Trick flashed after the stun had already going to be registered. That's how, of course, the Bard Q works. And then Expect just kind of chilling too long.
Yeah, I mean, Expect goes back in for a kill with Elder Dragon up on the map. That's a way perhaps back in for Gigabyte. If they can get out here, we'll see if the Marines can actually stop this.
So fast, though.
Doesn't look like it.
Bard ultimate is there. Decide not to use it. Is it used on the exit? It doesn't look like they have enough follow-up here with the HP bars of G2. They're just trying to keep him in range. Weaver's Wall is going to be there in a second as Optimus is coming up from base. He throws it right below the team. Levi taking too much damage. Optimus may not have got there in time. PerkZ gets the hit from Slay. One more. Can he turn it around? Blindfold Trickster picks up that dangerous game, and he's still alive. Finally goes down. They're on to Optimus now, and G2 waited out the fight long enough to drop the Gigabyte Marines.
Big stuff for G2. Zven free hitting for the majority of it. They can turn around 4 dead. Remember, they've already taken down an inhibitor. They're taking in a super minion wave, and G2 think they can end the game.
I think they can too. I mean, they're just going to walk this wave in, and I don't think there's anything that Stark could do at all here. He has his ultimate available, but no flash and no way in, and this is AD Kennen.
They're onto the Nexus turrets, 41-30. Neck and neck were the kills. The fights, 1 for 1, back and forth. But G2 continued to climb the ladder, continued to get that advantage over Gigabyte Marines, and they find themselves on the Nexus at 21-19. G2 eSports takes down Gigabyte Marines.
Gigabyte Marines will fall to 1 and 3, but it really feels like these honorable defeats that they now have piled 2 on, and of course the game against SKT are the difference between them accelerating to next week, accelerating to the top 4, and kind of being stopped. They've been so close so many times, touching distance against major regions around the world with thousands of fans is a win on a simple level for the Gigabyte Marines, but somehow I don't think they're going to be feeling that right this moment.
No, they definitely won't, but G2 is ecstatic to get this win. They moved to 2-2 in the group. They keep their hopes alive of moving forward, and so much pressure on these guys from their region to succeed, to reclaim that first pool seed at Worlds.
But my struggle right now is who am I excited about to be the contender to SKT? Because this is 3 games in a row where G2 have been at best even, but largely behind in the first 25 minutes. And sure, the late game has been steady. It kind of feels like the WE scouting report is largely being applied to G2. They're getting over the lines 50% of the time, but it feels like they should be so much cleaner and that should be allowing the advantages that, credit to Gigabyte Marines, they were able to make happen in the mid-game.
There are definitely some holes in their play, to be sure. I mean, Expect with a number of questionable plays.
He was bloodthirsty today.
We're really kind of did delay, I think, G2's game plan, but credit certainly to PerkZ, to Zven. Those 2 guys played very well for the team, finding a lot of kills for them. You know, PerkZ was able to really give them the time, despite those mistakes, to get Zven to the late game where he can take over.
I mean, you can point at the one part where he tried to turret dive and failed and laugh at PerkZ, but largely it was the PerkZ that really started to step up this season in the EULCS. Like you say, how much time was spent following PerkZ, trying to kill him, trying to relieve pressure, but the lane he was split pushing it. All that time, the adorable little puck was auto-attacking, adding on items, and we got to 35 minutes, and predictably, there could be only one winner at that time.
And I really think that we see the way that they're playing. You see Zven there. He wasn't an all eggs in one basket guy, but they still had the option to somewhat play that way with the Lulu, but there was more power around the map, so if they had to break a few eggs, they could, but still come out on top.
Yeah, I think I did like a lot of their compositional choices, right? So they have a winning top lane, they have split push win conditions, they have the 5v5 team fight with the Nunu and the Lulu and the Kog'Maw, so they gave themselves multiple ways to win the game, which was pretty smart. I think that if it ever got late, it was going to be so hard for the Marines to take it down, but Archie is a guy who really impressed me here in this one. I think
double
his Bard
banned as well, 3 bans.
Yeah, his Bard was insane, and Levi continues to impress. 4-1-10 on the Graves, certainly doing his best to try to carry this game.
Targeted down, like you say, and still making things work largely on the Bard. A couple at the end certainly weren't the best, but zoning ultimates, of course, the way we look at it. I still wonder, I still wonder about G2 because you feel like, sure, you understood what they were doing, but they made huge mistakes. The expect jumping in with Flash, huge mistake. Trick being caught a couple times, huge mistake. And do huge mistakes work against the best teams in the world, against the Gigabyte Marines that only play one way, that never play the side lanes? Certainly, that was fine. They could weather the storm, but on another day, I don't think they would get it done. I
mean, you have to say, though, Flash Wolves, WE, TSM, I mean, none of these teams are really looking clean, right?
Not got many teams left after
the thing is, it's like, yes, SKT is looking so strong, but the rest of the field, I think, is wide open. Gigabyte Marines has shown that they can compete with these teams, and I think that, G2 certainly has the ability to take down the rest of the field. They are looking pretty solid, but no one has been flawless, and we also have to remember this is a 5-day group event. There's a lot of time for these teams to actually grow and adapt and maybe shake off some of the jitters that they've been showing.
I've really been enjoying the fact that Gigabyte Marines, we usually see teams for that first 15 minutes do a little bit of an invade, and then you trail a jungler. These guys are pushing other teams to the limit and making them play the Gigabyte Marines game. They've had one of the craziest 15 minutes because other teams have to play the Gigabyte Marine games. Then we see them get to a second tier, and they start to fizzle out. You can see Shock's on stage with Zven as we get ready
pretty
to
for
speak
us.
with him. Oh, absolutely. I mean, he already is, but just a little bit more for the fans. But seeing the way that you said these games are going to evolve, I can't wait. We're getting lane swaps already.
I do feel, though, the one thing you can say about Gigabyte Marines, they didn't have a lead from 5 minutes, from 10 minutes. They actually had a pretty slow early game, but they warmed up. They didn't let necessarily their win conditions being a little bit delayed get to them, so having at least some mental resilience there is a good sign for the Gigabyte Marines.
It's a good point. They can run teams around, but the teams usually stay even and are able to come back. Now for more on that G2 victory, we got Shock standing by with G2's victorious carry.
That we do. Thank you guys very much. Standing by with Zven, who is receiving a lot of applause from the fans as well. I hope you'll be able to hear me, so I'll speak up a bit. Obviously, the game plan was quite clear from you guys, but I'd love to know what you have to say or what your thoughts are on what it turned into, and it became a very difficult game.
I think this game, we were kind of caught off guard by that comp and the lane swap. I mean, we saw the lane swap earlier today, but we didn't play out our lane swap very good. We always have practice against this lane swap. From EU, Fnatic did this sometimes in scrims and on LCS, but I think we played it wrong in the early game. And also their comp, this Taliyah, Bard, Ziggs, very mobile team comp. We didn't know how to play split push against this or play a comp, so we were like lost in the game of what to do. And we took one bad fight and it kind of collapsed a little bit, and we were like lost of how to play the game. And we decided we just said to ourselves, this is AR mid. Go mid and just AR mid. And
and it worked in this case, but it seems that you guys are learning along the way. The fact that you're going towards these protect the AD carry compositions with a lot on you, is that a testament to how you feel and how strong you feel in this tournament so far?
I personally don't demand this kind of comps. I don't ask, hey guys, let's play this comp because I want to play this comp and look cool. I play what Joey, our coach, thinks is best, and whenever we play this kind of comp, it usually works. And it also works in practice, this kind of comp. And we practiced the Nunu before. We didn't just pick it for fun. We actually practiced it, and it always works for us. But today, I think in the first game against WE, we fell really far behind, really fast. And yeah.
We'll take a quick pause as they're cheering for the other team setting up. Final question. I'll try to keep it simple. With all you've learned, how do you think you guys have been dealing with the stress and the circumstances so far?
What?
How have you been dealing with the stress and the circumstances so far?
I don't think there is any stress on us. The first day we played against the two best teams, arguably before the tournament started, and we were just fine. Winning or losing didn't matter, right? And I think that everyone has confidence and good morale, so I don't think there's stress. If we lose, it's not going to change anything anyways. And there's only things to gain, I think, today.
And they are helping as well, I guess. Well, thank you very... Oh, you want to say anything about the crowd?
Yeah, actually, I was a little bit disappointed today about my performance. I don't think I played very well individually. I was given a lot of tools to carry, like Channel, Nunu, Lulu, but I didn't really play to my usual level, and it kind of made me disappointed in myself after the first game and second game a little bit as well. But whenever you walk off stage here, everyone is cheering for you, and it's so nice, and it like cheers you up a little bit and makes you a little bit happy. So yeah, I'm grateful for all the fans here. They are amazing, I think.
Catch the end of that, but I'm sure the people at home did. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Zven. And now back over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Shocks. I mean, look, the crowd is making it hard for us to do our jobs, but that means that the crowd is awesome.
Yeah, I like Soup as well, Dash. Definitely do great.
Yeah,
no,
right?
I think it's fantastic, especially because G2 Esports, they have a lot of fans in Europe, but they have even more anti-fans that will just always root against them. In Hamburg, it was kind of the local town for the Unicorns, so despite playing super well, the crowd wasn't exactly behind them. And speaking from experience, these are moments you will cherish like forever in your life. When you walk on a stage and the crowd just goes like bonkers for you, that is exactly what these guys needed, because they've been under so much pressure, winning domestically, almost undefeated, and it's almost never enough for their own fans. They come to Brazil and they just get praised everywhere, and they finally get that little reprieve that they want so badly.
Especially for international competitions. It's so stressful for all these guys coming and competing here, competing for their region. Their entire region, you know, has that pressure on their shoulders.
But you want to talk about stress. This game must have been stressful to play in. What a slugfest. And before we try and do anything analytical about it, I want to take another look at the final team fight. This one brought to you by Acer here, as G2 does close it out, but in terrifying fashion.
I mean, ultimately, though, Gigabyte Marines still struggle to close games late, and it would be such a shame if someone drafted a Kog'Maw against them, and that's pretty much what happened. Sven, it's late game Kog'Maw. He'll come into this fight, and he'll just make people disappear.
And the craziest thing about this one, too, is that this was a very quick call from G2. They talked about feeling lost, and everyone who plays the Gigabyte Marines feels like they don't, you know, have a lot of time, and, you know, they aren't catching up to this style of play. But G2, right after that, you know, they took down the mid lane and went immediately over to that Elder Dragon. It was like maybe 5 seconds before the rest of, you know, Gigabyte Marines could really contest them and set up for that fight, and that's what really allowed G2 to come out with that huge victory in that team fight.
We also saw their comp come to fruition. If you can balance the Kog'Maw in the back lines and still have everybody peel for him, that's how it works. The moments where G2 were falling behind is when they got surprised by flanks, maybe a Bard ulti, that annoying Taliyah wall, just all these tools to split off Zven or get him to get focused. But this was a perfect fight. He was max range, dealing damage consistently, and then the tools weren't used sufficiently by the Gigabyte Marines, and that eventually was the late game winning team fight.
And kind of looking at the other side at Gigabyte Marines composition, I actually really like what it allows and kind of shores up for them. Again, this is a team that really struggles to close things out, and when you have something like a Ziggs, like a Taliyah, like a Bard, you're able to get around the map so quickly. It kind of shores up the fact that they can't really play like a traditional macro style game, that it cuts in half their time that they have to spend with towers, and they can spend the rest of the time killing people.
All right, now let's take a breath and let's go back to the beginning, top lane. First 3 kills that came out here in this game. Krepo, walk me through this, because this is where all the action started.
Yeah, this is just G2. They knew they were around, but it's in how like they persevere. Like Gigabyte Marines, when they commit to a call, they don't send one guy up, they don't send 2 guys up, they send the entire bloody party.
And they don't even stop at the first attempt. That was like the second or third attempt of the same attempt up on top side. The determination of these guys to force the play and make it work.
Trick's like, you know what, we dodge a gank, I'm going to drop a ward here and leave, and I'm going to play my normal game of League of Legends. I have flash up, if I get caught, I'll be fine, right? But he gets knocked back into knockback, and he dies, and they just keep committing. This is right after they flashed in the return and missed everything, and they hard commit. This is actually not a great play for the Gigabyte Marines, but there's just...
But it really is. It's pedal to the metal the entire time for this squad. I mean, it's C champ, kill champ, and then, hey, there's also an objective there, so why don't we take that as well?
Die first, think later, and then maybe readjust, but then probably just dive again. That is like their entire play style, and it makes it so satisfying to watch.
All right, so then let's go ahead and take a look at a fight that it was kind of initiated in that same fashion. Gigabyte Marines coming up with a 4-for-1, plus the Baron here in the top lane. Now, of course, this gave them an advantage in the game that they would then later throw.
Yeah, and I really like Optimus's play in particular on this top part. He absorbs so much pressure from 3 different members and spends so much time, and it allows the rest of Gigabyte Marines to kind of get their eggs in order on the bottom side of this fight.
Exactly. Look how spread out G2 end up. They're trying to collapse on a couple straggling members of the Gigabyte Marines, and yet they just turn it around and pick them apart. Really good use of the Zonias and stuff as well to gain time.
And then this September fate. We gotta praise Archie for this bar play. And we were watching this game. I had the Fizz show DMing me on Twitter. It's like, oh, we did it. We finally won. You know, we won the game. And when this fight was happening, all I had to do was write to him very quickly, turn it off.
Now,
Turn it off real quick. This is not happening. Like, somehow these guys always find a way to fight themselves back into the game with these crazy team fights. Bar ultimates, Taliyah walls. It was fantastic.
But here's the thing. This team is fun to watch, but if they don't start picking up the W's and closing out the games, they're not going to make it to that bracket stage and give us more of these fun games. So with wins like that, where they then get the Baron, it's imperative that this team find ways to not hand those kills back over. Control the game, slow it down, take a breath every once in a while.
Yeah, but how do they get ahead is by surprising the opposition by saying, you know what, we're playing super aggro league. What are they never doing? Farming their side lanes, pushing up the minion waves. That's exactly why it works too. Everybody expects people to play the same League of Legends, so you need it to like work 4 times in a row for you to win a game. But the traditional counter is just playing the smart game where you pick up the guaranteed creeps in the side lanes, you unlock these objectives. So I don't even know if they need to switch it up. I think they just need to keep doing the same thing and hope it keeps working.
Fine-tuning. That's all they got to do. Fine-tune the same strategy, keep running at the rest of these teams. Now, we've seen a lot of action today, but there's one more score left to settle after the break. Team WE goes up against the big boss in SK Telecom T1. Don't touch that dial or that mouse, whatever you got.
Don't touch it.
Can they drop tricks here, though, to make use of the roam? Looks like he will go down, but it might just be Bards. No, Optimus flashes forward to get the kill.
Mid lane.
On the waters onto Optimus. Oh, the double tap after he hits the ground. To the skies can clear a fight, but this is the damage he was hoping to have. Perk stopped under the turret. He's going to be taken down by Stark.
Oh my gosh, he's hurting.
Some of the waters is in, it's on to Slay. Should be able to bounce back around. He's gonna take one, but that's a 1-4-1. Here come the meat damage, boys. Oh. No, the double kill onto the guy. Perk gets out alive. Levi taking too much damage. Optimus may not have got there in time. PerkZ gets a hit from Slay. One more, getting turned it around. Blindfold Trickster picks up that dangerous game. E2 eSports takes down Gigabyte Marines.
Gigabyte Marines will fall to 1 and 3, but it really feels like these honorable defeats